Hey everybody, it's Debbie with Debbie D Stamp Studio. Welcome to Facebook Live, a Christmas card a week. So my plan is to get some Christmas cards done before December so we can be prepared and ready to get them addressed and on their way in a timely fashion. So today I have a fun set to share with you and a fun fold. So here's the card that we're going to make, or I'm going to make, and it has this fun belly band on here. And then you open it and there is the inside of your card. So this card uses designer series paper for the base, and then your cardstock for the inside, and designer series paper for your belly band. This is the season of elegance. You don't want to make your belly band too tight. I might have got this just a little bit too tight. You want to make sure it slides, so it's not, so they don't tear it trying to get it off when they get it. So let me show you the stamp set. This is the Bauble Blooms stamp set. It looks kind of funny when you look at it. It's got a really nice saying, the joyous wishes to you and yours, and then wishing you you can put Merry, Happy Christmas, and Glad Tidings. And then the little topper for the ornament and a little bow. And there are coordinating dies. And I have stored mine inside my stamp case on this particular set because Christmas sets tend to only stick around 1 year. So just for storage purposes, I am going to keep my dies inside the set rather than out with the rest of my dies that could possibly carry over into another catalog. So this way they're just with this set, and when I move it over to my shelf with my retired items, or my shelf for Christmas is getting quite full, then the dies will just always be with it and be easy to find. So there's a die that cuts out the ornament shape, and then a die that cuts out the floral images that fit inside the die. So then you can cut those individual floral pieces out and layer them inside there. And then just a ornament topper, and then one that you can stamp and cut out, and then that cute little bow you can stamp and cut that out. So those are the dies. So let's just go ahead and put the card together. And as I said, hopefully you saw my post just a few minutes ago. I thought, oh, I better warn them to grab a pen and paper. Hopefully you have something close by, because I'm going to give you all the measurements and everything. So if you want to start on your cards, then you'll have the measurements so you can duplicate this card. So the first thing that we have is our designer series paper. This is 4 by 12. So that way you can get 3 cards out of 1 sheet of designer series paper. One thing to keep in mind is that when you fold this, you don't want to probably use a directional pattern, because when you fold this, you are going to be folding one piece down and one piece up. So your pattern would not be going the right direction. But when we're done, I will show you an option that you can do if you do have directional pattern designer series paper. So we have our 4 by 12. So when you cut this, you may as well just cut all 3 pieces, make 3 cards at a time, and you'll have 3 done at once. And you're going to score this at 2 and 7.5. So 4 by 12 scored at 2 and 7.5. And then for the belly band, you'll need a 2-inch strip by 12, again, of a coordinating pattern. Now, I was pretty limited on my current Christmas paper, So that's why I use the Season of Elegance. It is in the annual catalog, and I just happen to have some left over from last year, or from the holiday catalog. It carried over, and I just happen to have some, so that's what I chose to use. So, and we're going to use the solid side of this for our belly band. We're not going to use the gold. Okay, so then for the inside of your card, we have a piece of coordinating cardstock. I went with the cherry cobbler to coordinate with my belly band. And this is the typical 5 1/4, but since the outside of our card is only 4 inches, which is a little bit smaller than what we're used to, the measurement across here is 3 3/4. So the normal 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. So it's just 1/4 of an inch smaller all the way around, just as normal. But since it's only 4 inches across, then we have to go 3 3/4. So that will be our inside. And because I'm using designer series paper for the base, I am going to do 2 layers on the inside just to give my card a little more stability. So then I will put a white layer on the inside. So my white layer is going to be 1/4 of an inch smaller. So it will be 5 by 3 1/2. So typical 1/4 of an inch smaller layer for the inside. So while we've got that, let's go ahead and stamp our inside. So I've got the Wishing You A, and I've got my Old Olive to coordinate with my cardstock, and I'll go ahead and open my cherry cobbler too. So, oops, stick my finger right in there. So I have my Wishing You A. I'm going to stamp in Old Olive. Line this up. Stamp. And then I have the words Merry Christmas are 2 different words. So Merry and Christmas. That way you can choose happy or merry, whichever one you want to use. And I went ahead and put them on the block together. Now, if you're more comfortable stamping each word individually, by all means, do that. But I figured I could go ahead and put them on the block at the same time and ink and stamp all at once. So what I usually do is line my stamps up on my grid paper the way that they're going to stamp on my card, and then just use my block to pick them up. So you've got nice lines to use to line your words up. So you just line them up on your grid paper and make sure they're straight. And then I make sure my block is straight and press it down and pick the stamps up onto my block. And I always practice stamp on my grid paper first to make sure that everything is straight and it looks the way I want it to look before I stamp on my project. So then if I need to adjust or move anything around, then I can do that before I stamp on my card. And that looked fine to me. So now we can stamp Merry Christmas underneath the Wishing You a Merry Christmas. Now, the red and pink inks tend to stain your stamps, and something that I like to do, it helps a little bit, it doesn't get them perfectly clear, is to use my Stampin' Mist. This is a really old bottle. This is my original bottle that I've had for almost 22 years. 22 years next month is how long that I have been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So, and I love it just as much today as I did when I first started. So I will actually spritz some cleaner right onto the stamp. And normally I would use my old style Stampin' Scrub and scrub that on there, but right now I just have my chamois, so I'll just use my chamois to clean that off. And I think it just helps get a little more of the stain off the inks by using the Stampin' Mist than just using water. And they stay red, just stains. That's just the nature of the ink. So I've gotten used to it. I've got some stamps that are so red that they're just really, really bad, but that's just the way they are. So that's the way I love them. Okay, so now we can glue our layers together. Actually, no, we don't want to, because there's not a little stamp that we can stamp on the inside, and I always like to decorate the insides of my card, even though you know, we have the pretty green and red ink in there. I'm gonna move, oh, I can't, I'm gonna leave this turned over. I have a little strip of the Cherry Cobbler designer series paper that I've cut to 3/4 of an inch wide, and then I've cut it longer than the 3 3/4, and I'm going to add that to the bottom of the front of the card. And then I left it longer on purpose because sometimes when you measure, even though you measure the same measurement every time, it, you know, might be a little bit off. So this way I can add this to the bottom of my card, and normally I would not hold it, but I put glue on the back already. So this time I am going to use the gold side up to make that front of that card inside pretty, and then turn this over and trim it off so that it's nice and even along both sides of the card. So that way it's not, you know, a little bit too short. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes when I measure, even though I think I'm measuring exactly perfect every time, I get just a little bit too short. And then I have that white edge showing, and I don't like that. So cut it a little bit long, and then you can trim it off. So that was a 3/4 inch strip, a little bit longer than your 3 1/2, so that you can trim it off. And then we'll put this right in the center. And then we can put this on the inside of our card. Normally we don't start with the inside, but on this card we are. Okay, so now this is going to center right between our score lines. On the inside of our card. And then we can fold on our score lines and give that a crease. Sometimes they're a little bit hard to see on the pattern paper, but if you just fold it, if you scored it, you'll be able to see where those lines are. So then you want the top flap to come down over. So there's the card, and you can set that aside. Well, actually no, we need to take your belly band, and we're not going to score the belly band because you don't want it to fit real tight, and if you score it and it's not exactly perfect, then you have those score lines that aren't quite in the right spot. So we're just going to fold it gently at first, and then fold this up. And like I said, you don't want it super tight, so then we're just going to pinch it. You don't want it falling off, but you don't want it super tight so they can't get it off. So then just pinch that, and then line that up so it's straight, and then give that a crease with your bone folder too. And now you can add some adhesive. I like to add a little bit of adhesive to both ends, not to your card, just to the end of the strip, and then to this end too. And then just gently fold that together. And make sure your sides are straight. That's going to get kind of covered up anyway. And then just press that together. So then your belly band slides easily across your card. Okay, now we can set that aside. So now I just have a scrap of basic white, and we're going to stamp our pretty little ornament. So there are actually 3 pieces to the ornament. There's the greenery, there is an outline of the floral, and then the filler of the floral. So we're going to start with the greenery. So we're going to stamp that with our old olive. So ink that up. And I'm going to stamp that pretty much in the middle of my scrap, because when you cut out that ornament, there is quite a bit of a white outline or border or edge or whatever. So there's quite a bit of white around the outside edge. So you don't want to get it too close to the edge. And then there's a nice little dotted cutout or border around there too. So you want to make sure you have plenty of room to fit your die on there to cut that out. Okay, so there is the greenery part. And then we have the outline. We're going to do that in the cherry cobbler. And this is really pretty easy to line up. I'm going to have to move it down a little bit so I can see. You can kind of see where the flowers fit into these little spaces. There's some little dots. And it's one of those, if you don't get it like exactly perfect, it's okay. It looks perfect. So there is the outline of the flowers inside the ornament. Clean that off. Oh, I just put it right on my hand. Okay, and now we're going to do the filler of the flower, and we're going to do that in cherry cobbler. So since we're stamping with the same color, we need to make sure we stamp off so that we get a lighter shade of those flowers. And line that up. And stamp that. So now we have the lighter shade of cherry cobbler filled in with those flowers. I think this set is so cute. I love it. And I can't wait. I didn't try to use the die that, this one, that once you stamp it, you can cut out, you can see how it will cut out the leaves and those flowers, and you can either make, you know, like openings, or you can use those to make dimension to your ornament, you know, pop those flowers up. Lots of different things to try with that, so I'll be anxious to do some more. Okay, so now we're ready to, I need my die, my big die. Now we're ready to line this up. You can see how that fits on there. Pretty easy. And we'll run that through our die cut and emboss machine. I have that sitting right over here, ready to go. Okay. Probably shaking the whole table. Okay, so now we have our pretty little ornament all decorated and ready to go. Put this away so I don't misplace it. Okay, so now I have pre-cut that little topper out of our gold foil paper, and I pre-cut, stamped, and pre-cut that cute little bow. So I'm going to add this onto my ornament with glue dots. So I'm just going to press this down to the glue dot and pick it up. That's the easiest way that I have found to add glue dots. And then that just fits right on top. Make sure everything's in the right place. Press that together. I think that makes that so pretty. That would be pretty to add just some little speckles of gold embossing. I didn't think of that till just now. That would be pretty. And then we're going to add this little bow. Do the same. Just press it down to that glue dot and pick that up. So your glue dot's on the back. And I didn't want to cover up all that gold, so I just kind of put it down. I guess that's where it's going. I accidentally touched it right there. Just kind of down here. So it's got a cute little bow. Okay, so we're going to add this to our belly band with dimensionals, but we want to make sure that we don't put any adhesive over where the card is. So we know we're going to put a dimensional at the top and the bottom because that is going to be where the belly band is. But we don't want one clear over on this side because we don't want to stick it to the card. So probably right about where the flowers are would be a good spot. And maybe right there at the bottom. And right there at the top. Okay, that should be good. I don't think it's going to come off or go anywhere. Okay, and I want to put this on at a little bit of an angle. Not too much, just a little bit. Might have got a little bit too much on there, but that's okay. Okay, so now I have pre-cut a circle from Mossy Meadow. This is from the Stylish Shape Dies. This is the third smallest circle. And typically I would stamp and then cut out my saying, because this is where we're going to put our little joyous wishes to you and yours. But I didn't want to have to die cut again. And I'm really done with this ink, so let's close that up. Because we are going to stamp this with our Versamark. And I'm going to use my little embossing buddy that just kind of frees up any static that might be on there, so my embossing powder won't stick anywhere but where I want it to. I'm going to stamp my words with my Versamark. And Versamark is just a clear, sticky ink that holds the embossing powder in place, or just gives you a watermark look. And now my embossing powder will stick over the words. So this is the Wow Metallic Gold embossing powder. So we're just going to dump that on there. And then shake that off. Tap it off a little bit. Get any excess off. Got some down in the holes there. That's okay. Okay, we'll set that aside, and then later I can dump that right back into... Ooh, I didn't have that lid on there. I almost dropped that. That would not be good. I will dump that excess back into the jar and can reuse that. Okay, so now I have my heat tool, and we're going to heat this up and watch this emboss. And the heat tool actually has two heat settings. There's one if you're just like drying your watercolor, or just need to dry something, and then the number 2 setting for your embossing. It gets pretty hot, so we'll let that heat up a little bit, and then we'll start to heat our embossing powder, and you'll see that turn a shiny gold, and then you know that that is set and ready to go. See that turn? This is always a wow factor to new people. I know when I very first saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, I want this on every card I make. I love it. Doesn't take very long. And there we have our nice little shiny wishes. Okay, so we're going to add this to our belly band with dimensionals as well. And I'm just going to put two kind of at the bottom because it's going to overlap our ornament a little bit. So I'll grab my Tombow and just put a little tiny bit at the top. And make sure my words are straight. And put that on there. So there is that. Okay, almost done. We just need to add some bling. We know we have to have bling. So I grabbed the adhesive back metallic gems because there's gold. They kind of look like sequins, kind of like the opposite. They're bumped up and the sequins kind of like are domed in like a bowl. And these are like a mountain. So they're fun though. They're so pretty and sparkly. They go along with our gold theme here. So we'll add two down here and one up toward the top. I'm going to put it on this side. On my other one, it went on the other side. So there we go. And these come in three colors. There's copper, gold, and silver. So perfect for Christmas because you got to have sparkly bling on your Christmas cards. So there you go. There's a fun fold belly band card for Christmas. Love it. And like I said, that is the Season of Elegance Designer Series paper that is in the annual catalog. The Bauble Blooms stamp set and dies are an online exclusive, so you can see those when you get online and look in the online store. You can look under the online exclusives tab, or you can look it up by the name. And then I wanted to show you another one. This one's kind of an elegant paper. I pulled out some retired Christmas. I have lots of retired Christmas. I don't have a lot of current Christmas. That'll be coming soon. We have pre-order on August 5th for the new holiday catalog. Such an exciting time. So here's a more whimsical looking paper, but it looked really cute, I think, with that bauble, because I think the shape of this pattern looked really good with this ornament. So same design, just different paper. So really cute. The double-sided paper makes your work very easy. And then if you have a directional pattern paper, you can use the two-tone cardstock. It's, you know, the 12 by 12, well, any 12 by 12 cardstock, if you have 12 by 12 cardstock, and then just cut your designer series paper to layer on the front. So if you want to do that, you still use your 4 by 12. You still get 3 cards out of a sheet of cardstock, and then you still score at your 2 and 7.5. And then for this piece, you would cut it at 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. So your little piece to layer on top of the flap. And then this piece would be, I didn't write this down. It's still 3 3/4 wide by 4 1/4. So it would be 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. So if you have directional paper that you want to use, you can just use cardstock for your base and then your directional pattern paper on the front. And then you don't have any problems. So this is another retired paper, and this is shaded spruce two-tone cardstock, so it's darker on the outside, lighter on the inside, and this is just the back side of this paper. I had a little strip that I added on the inside, so super fun. Lots of different ideas, gives you a totally different look, but you could, you know, I would use or will use this same pattern for my belly band, and then I'll use a different element for my front. I'll probably find a Christmas tree to put on the front for this one. So there, I have 2 cards done, well, 3 cards, because I made a sample too. So I got 3 cards done and 1 almost done. So I'm super excited. So by the end of November anyway, I don't know how far I'll go into December because it gets really busy, but I'll have lots of Christmas cards done. That's my plan. So I hope you enjoyed today. I hope you are inspired to get your Christmas cards started. And I wanted to remind you, or if you were with me on Tuesday, that next Tuesday is my birthday, and I am having a birthday promotion for you, that if you place a $30 order with me from now through the end of July, I will send you my favorite embellishment, and that is the new 2527 in color flat pearls. And these are the 5 new in colors: the Secret Sea, Cloud Cover, Timid Tiger, Darling Duckling, and Strawberry Slush. I love these so much. They are my favorite. So with a $30 purchase with me from the now until the end of July, I will send you a gift. So again, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you all again very soon. Thanks. Bye.